Hi everybody, Jeff Yastine here. By the way, make sure to watch this Saturday's video because that's when I'll be opening up the mailbag and answering a couple of questions and comments that you have sent in, and I appreciate your responses. You can always send me more. The address is jeff@yastine.com. And of course, you can always reach me or you can always follow me on Twitter @Jeff Yastine and on Facebook, Jeff Yastine1. So let's talk about COVID vaccine backdoors, backdoor investments to the vaccine trade, if you will. It's not a place that you might not think about at first. So often when we think about these things, we think, well, it's got to be, a pharmaceutical company of some kind, right? But if you think about it, the next step, it's like, well, how do you get those drugs into, the millions of Americans who need them? And one avenue is going to be the national drugstore chain. So we're talking about CVS, CVS Health, symbol CVS, and Walgreens, of course, symbol WBA. And of course, as we look at a chart here of Walgreens, the official name, the reason why it's WB as in boy, A, is from a merger that happened a couple of years ago. So it's Walgreens Boots Alliance. I know it sounds weird. Just think of it as Walgreens because that's what it is. But as we look at the chart here, you can see an initial pop today, in fact, December 2nd, as I'm taping this. And I think that this is the beginning of an uptrend for this drugstore chain as well as for CVS Health, which you can see the chart looks somewhat better here. So here's what's going to happen with both of these chains. They have been put in charge by the federal government of distributing a very large portion of the COVID vaccine to America's seniors who reside in nursing home, nursing care facilities. So this is roughly 2 million people or so spread out across more than 15,000 nursing care facilities around the U.S. And so it's an initial, opening phase, obviously for those Americans who are most at risk, along with first responders, and who will be, first in line to get the vaccine. So that is sort of an opening element to this play. But the other aspect of it, which I think is still not occurring to many people yet, is that both of these chains have set themselves up to do a lot of business in inoculations of the vaccines to all the rest of us out there who are going to need this vaccine. Now, they both have contracts with the CDC to do inoculations either in their store parking lots or in the case of like CVS, it actually has in many of its stores what are called Minute clinics in its units where you can go. I went to my local one before the COVID crisis set in to get my flu shot. And of course, you can go there for many other types of simple diagnoses. But the other aspect for COVID is that you can go there for COVID testing as well. But the key here, going back to vaccines, is that both of these chains are going to play leading roles for many, many months to come in making sure that every American gets the 2 shots that he and she needs to make sure they do not contract the virus and their bodies can fight it appropriately. The other aspect of both of these companies that I like is the charts. So let's take a look at those more specifically here. And in the case of CVS Health, you can see this initial spike, and this was just sort of a sell-off just before the election that brought it down to $56 a share, which you can see here was the cheapest it had gotten since April this year at the bottom of the COVID panic, if you will. And we saw the stock rocket higher, and what was to the current price, about 24%, and it actually shot even higher than that through about 2 weeks ago, about 32% higher. And if we go to Walgreens chart, the pop to the current date, 20%, roughly the same, and again to the high back about 2 weeks ago, roughly the same amount, 32% as CVS. So here's what I like about the charts. Number one, I love to see like a volume spike, like we're seeing here with Walgreens, and CVS has something similar here as we see here. When you see this kind of volume spike going on, that is institutions coming in and buying the stock in a big way. And while the crystal ball isn't exact on this sort of thing, when you see institutions come in like that and you see a nice big spike, especially in a large stock like this, it usually bodes well for the future. The other aspect that's important to note about both of these chains and why I think both of them will continue to move higher from here is that they are trading at such cheap valuation levels. And in the case of CVS, we can see that the stock, the company this year is going to earn $7.43 a share, $7.53 a share next year, and rising to $8.16 a share in 2022. The reason why that's important is if we do the math here, dividing the stock price by, let's say, next year's earnings, we see that it's not even trading at a PE multiple of even 10. It's 9. And that's important because this is a very, very cheaply priced stock for a company that is very well run and pays not quite a 3% dividend, and basically is doing a lot to make sure it stays at the very center of America's sort of healthcare ecosystem. And as we look at the estimates for Walgreens Boots Alliance, the Walgreens chain, it tells very much the same story. Next year, the company is going to earn $4.82 a share in profits. That's the Wall Street estimate. And if we divide the stock price by that projected profit forecast by analysts, you basically come up with a price earnings multiple of 8, or let's round up to 9 basically. But every company, every stock has what screenwriters, a Hollywood scriptwriter would call its backstory, right? And the backstory for Walgreens and for CVS is that most on Wall Street already consider both these companies Amazon roadkill. And that's why they're trading at these very low valuations. Now, are those valuations justified? Are these companies value traps, which is something that we always have to look out for? And I would say no. The reason why is because both of these companies have the same sort of automated pill packing technology that the Amazon traders have become so enamored of. And that's why back just a few weeks ago, when Amazon announced that it was going to make internet pharmacy ordering available to its Amazon Prime members, that the stocks of both Walgreens as well as CVS suddenly tanked in a big way. And let me go and I'll show it to you here. You can see it very clearly here on the chart. The stock rocketed higher through November 16th, excuse me. And on that day was when, or that morning was when Amazon announced that they would be making these pharmacy orders available to Amazon Prime members. And for Walgreens, it was the same sort of deal here. Same thing. You saw this spike and then a sell-off. Now, here's the key about both these companies that most people, most traders on Wall Street do not realize. Number one, the announcement by Amazon is nothing new. Amazon announced its acquisition of an internet pharmacy startup called PillPack about 2.5 years ago, and we saw a similar reaction knee-jerk reaction to the stocks of CVS and Walgreens and also Rite Aid, which I haven't really talked about here at all. But it's nothing new. The fact that it's being made available, that Amazon's making it available to Prime members, again, really nothing new. The other element, the bigger element here, is mainly that the main drugstore chains like CVS and Walgreens own the same kind of pill packing technology that Amazon has, does the same kind of fulfillment, has been investing heavily, in the operations and software to allow this sort of thing to happen. And you can go on to any of the major drugstore chains' websites and order all the same kind of drugs that you could anywhere else, like Amazon, and have them delivered to your door. The other takeaway, the thing I want you to remember most about this, is that the COVID vaccine situation, the rollout and distribution of these vaccines in the parking lots and in the in-store clinics of places like CVS and Walgreens shows their advantage in competing against Amazon. Mainly that they have a bricks and mortar presence and Amazon does not. So in the same way that we've seen Amazon buy Whole Foods, and plenty of so-called experts on Wall Street and CNBC and elsewhere thought that somehow that would make your your local national supermarket grocery chain somehow obsolete. Hasn't happened. In the same way that many thought 2 and 3 and 4 years ago that Amazon, just by the nature of its size, would somehow put Walmart and Target and the smart retailers out of business. Of course, that hasn't happened either. And they're using, speaking of Walmart and Target, they're using their own in-store formats as fulfillment warehouses for their local neighborhood and community deliveries. Again, something that Amazon cannot do. And I fully expect that we will see the same sort of realization happen among traders and Wall Street institutional investors, that likewise for CVS and Walgreens, they also have a built-in advantage because they have thousands of stores, in most cases literally just a couple of corners away from where most Americans live. So to wrap things up, I think both stocks look really good here, and I think the COVID vaccine rollout provides a nice tailwind, and I expect both of them to be somewhere between 30 to 50% higher over, let's say, the next year to year and a half. Make sure to watch for Saturday's video where I open up the mailbag for the first time, and until then, I'm Jeff Yastine.